If you've ever spent time setting up systems in your home, routines, chore charts, cleaning schedules, only to feel like you're the only one actually following them, this video is for you. Hi friends, it's Audrey, and today I want to talk about the dynamics of getting your spouse and your kids to help with housework, why it actually matters way more than we think, and how to get everyone on board without nagging, fighting, or burning out. I use my long-form videos to dive deep into the topics that you want to hear about, and as you can imagine, there were lots of requests for this topic. If there's a topic you want me to do a deep dive on, drop it in the comments, and I'd be more than happy to take time to cover it. I pack a lot of information into these videos, so make sure that you like it, save it, take notes, whatever you need to do to reference back to this video again as needed. We're going to break up this topic into several sections. We'll cover the why this issue is so important to houses. We'll talk about systems. What systems do you need to set up? What systems are overkill for your house? We will look at spouses and children, what motivates them, what causes them to not pull their weight, how you remedy this, and more. So if you're ready, comment ready below and we'll get started. Let's find the why. Why are we finding the why behind the why? Why? I'm glad you asked. Okay, that was too much. Behavior is almost always the symptom, not the root cause. So why do you need to focus on the why? Understanding why someone behaves the way that they do allows you to shift from judgment to empathy. Once you understand why, you are less likely to label someone as rude, lazy, selfish. Second, it leads to better solutions. If you don't understand the true motive for someone's behavior, you don't properly treat the problem. You most likely find temporary fixes as opposed to lasting change. Last, it improves relationships and communication. When you understand why someone reacts the way they do, you can respond appropriately. People won't feel attacked, which lowers their defenses and allows them to hear you openly. If you're still with me, hit the like button and we'll talk about the why as it relates to your spouse and your children. Number one, if you grew up in an environment where tasks were assigned to you instead of owned by you, or if you grew up in a house where someone else, like a mom, did everything, then you learned that housework is reactive, not proactive. Reactive meaning you respond to problems after they occur. Proactive means you act before a situation becomes a crisis. If you grow up in a house where you're being asked to do something, then you're probably a reactive person because that's how you're taught. So how do we combat this? Stop assigning tasks like they're favors. So instead of asking, can you help with dishes, assign that task. Number two, mental load is learned. It's not intuitive. It's not like you're born with this ability. Noticing what needs done is a skill. If one spouse has always carried the load of planning, tracking, anticipating, the other person has never had to build that muscle, so to speak. So while one person is constantly improving the skill of handling the mental load, the other is making no progress at all. So how do you combat this? People genuinely don't see what they've never had to scan for. So bring the mental load from internal to external. Write lists, routines, checklists, and then step back. Don't monitor. We learn from failure. So if you've given groceries to your husband as his responsibility, and then one week you run out of paper towels, that's fine. He's learning. Let that happen. Number three, power dynamics and comfort become default. It's human nature. We don't notice what we're not responsible for. So how do you combat this? Again, let failure happen. Let something not get done, or tolerate the mess or the delay. Resist the urge to swoop in and fix everything. Number four, it could possibly be due to a fear of doing it wrong. If someone's constantly being criticized or if the goal is unclear, people just stop helping. So how do you combat this? Redefine good enough. Let them have their way of doing things. Silence after they act is more powerful than feedback, so zip it. Number five, gratitude for effort versus expectation of contribution. This one is really hard because people want to feel appreciated. But if you're praising someone for helping, then it reinforces that the task isn't theirs and they don't have to do it. I'm all for being grateful to someone. I thank Luke every day, but I don't thank him for individual tasks. I thank him for big scale contributions or overall contributions. How do you combat this? Shift praise to acknowledgement. Instead of saying, thanks for helping with the kids, say, I appreciate you handling bedtime. That's your thing and it's so helpful to our family. Number 6, emotional jabs. Sometimes people act passive aggressively due to resentment or feeling unappreciated, so they might withhold responsibility around the house as a way of acting out. How do you combat this? Separate emotion from logistics. Have 2 separate conversations. Talk about your feelings, how things are going, and then in a separate conversation, talk about logistics of the house. The truth is, most people just aren't outright refusing to help. Like, they're not lazy. They're just behaving the way that the system they've been living in has taught them. So we just need to fix that. Rarely do systems fail. Typically, it's people that disengage from them. And if one person in the household is doing all the mental load, all the planning, all the upkeep, eventually the system collapses. Not because it was a bad system, but because it was never meant to be carried by one person. A household is a shared environment. Everyone contributes to the mess, so everyone needs to be contributing to maintaining it. This isn't about control or perfection, it's about sustainability. You guys know I love that word. Sustainability is all about creating lasting systems and plans that don't cause burnout. And for kids especially, helping at home isn't just about chores. It's about teaching responsibility, teamwork, confidence, and the understanding that home life doesn't magically run itself. For a spouse, doing their part at home isn't to help you out. It's to help carry the weight. It's to help steer their half of the ship. Now, how does our family know how we feel if we don't tell them? Do they read our minds? Do they pick up on our body language? No, we have to communicate. It's never, well, they should know how I feel. No. Make it, now we both understand. Needs are only able to be met once we establish the need to everyone. No guessing, no passive-aggressive hints. Conflict is inevitable. Luke and I have been together since we were 14. We grew up together. We're best friends, and yet we still have conflict. We all do. Everyone does. Hello, no one's perfect. Conflict happens. But communication determines whether conflicts become wedges or bridges. And in my marriage, it's been both. The ability to keep talking is what keeps a relationship healthy for years and years. Frame this as a shared goal with your spouse or your children or whatever. Less stress, more peace, more time together. Be specific. Don't say help more. Say, can you do the dishes every night? Or can you handle the laundry on the weekends? Okay, now this is very important. Ownership matters and language matters. Helping occasionally is different from being responsible. Helping implies that the task belongs to someone else, or that participation is optional, or that gratitude is expected for doing it. Owning something means you're responsible without being helped. So when we discuss everyone pulling your weight, don't use the word help. It's not I need help or can you help me? Because as soon as you start saying help, you're implying that the responsibility of the task is yours and yours alone. It's not. Now, one of the biggest mistakes we make, especially for the organized one, is that we just do it ourselves because it's faster. But every time we do that, we silently teach everyone else that this isn't your responsibility or mom will handle it. Then resentment builds. We feel unappreciated. And suddenly, a simple load of laundry feels emotionally exhausting. So recognize, if you want help, you have to create space for other people to participate, even if they don't do it exactly the way you want, or even if it takes longer, or if at the beginning there's a lot of over-explaining. And don't complicate things unnecessarily. Don't implement a bunch of systems just because you're getting everyone in the house to help now. Systems that I use regularly would be like our unloading system. Coats go here, shoes go there, bags go here, mail and papers go there, etc. My basket method, very easy, very vital system for the house. My daily 6, that's our cleaning routine. It's not about deep cleaning, it's about focusing on high impact tasks with low effort. If it's not vital to keep your house running, ditch the system. Okay, so how do you get everyone to help? Here's your step-by-step instruction manual. If you're ready to hear it, comment ready and we'll dive in. Okay, let's talk about spouses first. Phase 1, get on the same page. Step 1, name the problem neutrally. This works best when the conversation is not happening in the middle of frustration. As a Christian, we are always encouraged to step back from frustrating situations. Pray, gather ourselves, and rejoin when we can be more objective. James 1:19 tells us to be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. So take a step back, engage in this conversation when you're in a neutral posture. Now, if this means completing the full task or the task has to be put off until you can come together from this neutral position, then that's what needs to happen. But it's vital that we meet from this neutral place or the conversation will never be constructive. Next, always use I statements, never you statements. Instead of saying you never help out around the house, try I've realized I can't maintain this system alone and I need us to work as a team. This is very important. It sounds like no big deal, right? But it is. When you're talking, the speaker is focused on intention, but the listener is affected by the impact. So speakers hear the meaning, listeners hear the message. Small wording shifts carry big emotional signals to the person receiving the information. So when you say you never help, you trigger that receiver's defense mode. Saying you places blame. So be very mindful of your words. Step 2, understand their reason. We talked about this earlier. Find the why behind the why. Okay, phase 2, change the system. This is step 3 now. Move from task sharing to domain ownership. Why? Because task sharing doesn't remove dependency, but ownership creates accountability. Okay, do you see that? We're shifting from dependency to accountability. And assign tasks based on ability and availability. So maybe longer to complete tasks work better for the person who's the stay-at-home parent because they're in the house throughout the day, so it's just more convenient. Or the parent that works from home or whatever. Or the spouse that works outside the home runs the errands because they're already out and they have time on their lunch break, etc. Step 4, define good enough together. What does it actually mean? What needs to be spotless? What can be tidied? Define that together. Step 5, assign consequences. And I don't mean timeout. I mean, if the laundry isn't done, then that person has no clean clothes. If meals aren't planned, then that person has to scramble to figure something out. Don't rescue them. Empathize without fixing. So say, that sucks, but I know you'll figure it out. Phase 3, hold the line. This is step 6, expect pushback. Step 7, reinforce ownership, not effort. Again, we talked about this earlier. Thanks for handling that, not thank you so much for helping me. Step 8, have house meetings. Revisit roles at set intervals like weekly or monthly check-ins, not daily, and no nagging in between. Now, how do you get kids to help? Phase 1, normalize contribution. This is step 1. Frame chores as belonging, not punishment. In our house, we don't even call them chores. Step 2, assign age-appropriate, real responsibility. If the tasks aren't realistic for the child, they either won't be challenged enough or they'll be too challenged and get frustrated. Now, each children will be different on what they can handle, right? Boys and girls, just children in general, they develop differently at different stages. So you'll have a little bit of trial and error with what tasks which kid can handle, okay? Phase 2, teach the whole process. This is step 3. Teach once and then step back. Don't hover. Like I said before, mistakes, failure, that's how we learn. Step 4, tie chores to time, not reminders. Okay, so at this time, you set the table for dinner. At this time, you start the laundry, right? This removes the dependency we talked about and your responsibility. Plus, routine beats willpower every time. You might not want to do it, but it's 5 o'clock, you have to do it, right? Phase 3, let consequences do the talking. This is step 5. Just like with your spouse, allow natural consequences. Toys left out means they're not available to play with, right? Don't fix the problems for them. Step 6, stay calm. No lectures. I can see you're frustrated. What's your plan? All right. Step 7, acknowledge competence, not compliance. You handled that, not good boy, you did so amazing. Don't overpraise. If you constantly remind, rescue, redo, then nothing will change. The system only changes when you tolerate discomfort longer than they do. It's not toxic, it's not resentful, it's leadership. Now, what if your spouse is extremely combative and unwilling? There's a difference between resistance and inability. If they can help but won't, that's a relationship dynamic, not a productivity problem. If you've had the calm, supportive conversations and you're still facing this behavior, you may want to seek counseling or therapy. Look, this isn't about raising perfect kids or having a spotless house. It's about raising capable humans and protecting your own energy. You deserve support in your home. Progress will be messy. Systems will need adjusted, but the goal is consistency, not control. If you found this video helpful, let me know in the comments what's the hardest part of getting help in your household. And if you want more content about home systems, routines, reducing overwhelm, don't forget to like and subscribe. You're not asking for too much, you're asking for teamwork. I'll see you all on Sunday.